Okay, we're good. Good afternoon. My name is Mike. I am the computer guy here at East Chicago Public Library. And today we are doing our first of two spreadsheet classes, starting right from the beginning. Last classes of the year. So next Friday will be part two, and that's going to be it for the rest of the year. I will give you guys a call for our media literacy and technology wellness classes coming up in January and February. But today we're going to be talking about spreadsheets, which I would say this is probably the most complicated class that we have. We get a little bit more technical next week. We start using math calculations in a spreadsheet, but let's, everybody here was in the word processing class, right? Yeah. Yeah, just last week and the week before. Okay, good. So what that means is I normally start this class the same way that I start the word processing class, talking about the ribbon interface and the difference between the drop-down menus. I won't have to go into that as much because it's the same in Excel as it is in Word. We don't have drop-down menus. We have a ribbon toolbar. Also, we do have a cloud-based version of a spreadsheet program we can use. I'll show you what that is. It's called Google Sheets. It's free if you have a Gmail or a Google account or a Gmail address. So just like I talked about in Microsoft Word, if you don't own Microsoft Word, it costs money. It's not a free program. It doesn't come with your computer. But there are free alternatives. Google Docs is what we looked at last week primarily. Excel has the same counterpart in Google. It's called Google Sheets. But today, we're just going to give you an overview of what a spreadsheet is and some examples of why you would use it. Eugenia said, oh, it's for business. It is for business. You can use a spreadsheet for business, but it is a good tool for keeping track of large amounts of information. And it is a good tool when you have calculations that you want to automate. So a spreadsheet it came from bank ledgers. Okay, you can see up on the screen here, this is an old-fashioned bank ledger. They have columns and they have rows to keep track of money. If you notice, see how the debit and credit and balance, it's got its own little column for cents, right? It's got its own little box for dollars and its own little box for cents. So what a spreadsheet really is it's built into columns and rows to make everything so you don't mess up, basically. So you don't look at $12.50 and think it's $125, right? They keep everything in these columns and rows just to make sure everything adds up at the end. So this is kind of where a spreadsheet came in. But what's really nice about a spreadsheet is the information. They call the intersection of a column and a row, they call that a cell. A little box, they call that a cell. You can put into a cell, you can type in a number, or you can tell a cell that you want what's in that cell to be calculated from other cells. What's nice about that is if you look at this example on the screen here, see how it's kind of like an old check register, right? You put a debit amount in and it reduces how much money you have in the bank. You put a credit amount in and it increases how much money you have in the bank, right? So along this right side here is it tallies up the total amount in your bank account as you go, right? Well, if you were doing this by hand and writing in all these numbers, and then you realized that the opening balance, $460 here, you accidentally typed in wrong and you typed it in as $406 instead of $460, well, then every balance number is going to be wrong, right? You made a mistake at the beginning, everything's going to be off all the way down. If we could make those cells in the balance column automatically calculate themselves based on other cells, all you would need to do is type, instead of 406, correct it to 460, and all of those totals would update automatically. That's what makes a spreadsheet really powerful. You can automate calculations so you don't have to do it at all by hand. Okay. This is a reminder. You guys already know it. You've heard it a million times, but if somebody's watching on the internet, I want to let you know that we do have one-on-one technology help every Tuesday and Thursday at the main library from 1 to 4. And it's any kind of technology help that you need. You can bring in your own device, but there are no drop-offs. Also, if the repair is too complicated or it's going to take more than like 20 or 30 minutes to fix, we may recommend that you take it to a professional to get it fixed outside the library. This happened to us recently. We had somebody come in and they had a repair job on a laptop that would have taken hours to do. And we had to tell her, well, first of all, we looked at the situation and we determined that it's probably not worth it to get fixed, because if you were to take that to get fixed, it's going to cost hundreds of dollars, and it was going to cost more than the device was worth, right? So first of all, we told her, well, this isn't even a really good idea to fix this, because you can buy a whole brand new one for less than what it's going to cost to fix the old one. But even if it was an expensive laptop and she needed the screen replaced, even if it was an expensive laptop and worth it, that's more than we can do here at the help desk, unfortunately. So there are some times where the job's a little bit too big. We can do a lot of stuff, though. And if we can't get it done, we can at least diagnose the problem, and we could recommend somebody on the outside that you can take it to get fixed. In this case, we told her we couldn't fix it, and then we told her that probably best to buy a new one, which she had already ordered one. She got a good deal. She's like, oh, I already got a new one coming. I said, oh, good. No problem.
It was a hardware problem?
Her LCD screen on an older Chromebook had failed. And somebody told her that she was going to need to buy a new screen. And she bought a new screen and she brought it in. But it would have taken a heat gun to get it off. It was a major, major laptop repair. And I had to tell her, I said, well, that's more than we can do here. But if I were to send you to the outside, that's going to be a $200 or $300 fix on an old Chromebook, which was only $200 to begin with. So it's kind of like, it was kind of moot. Yeah, yeah, right. Now, see, that would have been a good thing for her to do if she had like a $1,500 new laptop. You know, that would, you buy a new screen, you go spend a couple $100 to get it fixed, instead of spending $1,500 on a new laptop. But her Chromebook was older, and a new Chromebook cost her $200 for a new one. So it's like, well, there's your problem solved. But just to let you know that sometimes we can't fix everything. We try our best, though, and there are a lot of things we can fix. So let's talk a little bit about spreadsheets. Google Sheets. If you're in your Google account, you have this little checkerboard up here on the right that shows you all of the apps that you get for free with your Google account. And we talked about Google Docs last week as a free alternative to Microsoft Word. Google Sheets is the free alternative to Microsoft Excel. So if you have a Google account, you can go to this little checkerboard and open up Sheets, or you can just go to the website sheets.google.com and just type in sheets.google.com. And I'm going to open up Excel and show you what Excel looks like when we open it. And they look very similar. So basically, when you open up Excel for the first time, it says, well, do you want to use a template Or do you want just a blank workbook? And if you choose a blank workbook, this is what it looks like. Okay, this is a little bit of a review from our word processing class. These are not drop-down menus up across the top here. These are categories of toolbars, just like we had in Microsoft Word. But the categories are a little different in Excel. Because like we have a data tab that'll show you different things that you can do with the information in your spreadsheet. Okay. We still have a view toolbar. If I click on the view toolbar, we can choose to zoom in or out our workspace to make it easier to read, make the workspace larger. This is the same view toolbar that we had in Microsoft Word. Okay. And then they also have a home toolbar in Excel with categories in the toolbar that also will look familiar from Microsoft Word. We have a font or a text formatting toolbar. Remember, we could change how the text looked and the colors of the text. We also had in Word, we had a paragraph formatting section of our toolbar. They changed this to alignment, and that means it's just how the numbers or text that you type into a cell, how it's aligned inside the cell. So in Excel, we don't really have paragraphs. We have set columns and rows and cells. We also have something called number formatting, which we didn't have in Word. And number formatting is how do you want the number to appear to you? Do you want it to appear like currency with a $ and 2 decimal points? Or do you want that number to appear as a percentage, maybe, with a % sign and no decimal point? Those are different types of number formatting. And that we're going to do next week, okay? This week, we're going to learn how to create what we call a logical data table, okay? And we're going to use Excel to keep track of a large amount of information. That is the other thing that Excel is good at. It's good at keeping a table of information, a table of addresses, okay? A table of whatever you need, whatever information you need to keep track of. It's a really convenient way to keep track of a large amount of information. This is one of those tools that if you don't use it regularly, you're going to forget pretty quick how to use it. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and give you an idea or an example of something you could do at home to keep track of information, so you can maybe go home and start using it right away. I've used Excel to keep track of information that I had at home for lots of different projects. I'm going to give you an example. And it's very similar to the example we're going to do ourselves today. When I was in college, I lived with two roommates. And we were all big fans of music. So we had a big music collection, a lot of CDs. Right? When I was in college, CDs were brand new, a new thing. And so we put all of our CD collections together, and we had it on a shelf in the apartment. And it was great because we had the three of us combined had a really impressive music collection. And then one day my roommate comes home and he's looking through this big music collection on the wall. And he said, you know, I would like to rearrange all of these CDs. They were alphabetical by artist, right? But that was a problem, right? Because if you bought a new CD and it was Frank Zappa, well, it was fine because you put it at the end under Z, right? But what if you went out and you bought a new CD and it was by ABBA? Well, then you had to put it at the beginning. And if that shelf was full, you had to shift everything down, right? So you kind of had to alphabetize all the CDs in the shelf. My roommate comes home and he says, you know what? I want to rearrange all the CDs by genre. So all of the jazz is in one section, alphabetical by artist. All of the reggae is in another section, alphabetical by artist. And like the rock and roll is in another section, alphabetical by artist. So he did that one day. But it made it really hard to find stuff because we didn't know what he necessarily considered jazz, or some things can be a little in between, right? So where do you put Frank Zappa? That's crazy music anyway. So so it was hard. Now I understood his point, right? He's like, if he wants to just listen to jazz today, he doesn't want to have to see all this other reggae and rock and roll. He just wants to look at the jazz and make a decision with jazz. So we decided to solve the problem by doing two things. First of all, the CDs were taking up a lot of space because they're in these plastic jewel cases. Remember those hard plastic cases? We threw the cases away, and we took each CD and we put it into an envelope, into a 3-ring binder. Okay? We actually did this. This is a true story.
What was his name?
He was a photojournalist. He was a photojournalist. Yeah, he was a journalism major. This is what this looked like. Now you remember seeing these. This is the small one that you could get for your car, right? That's what a lot of us had in the car. But you could get bigger ones that had 4 CDs per sheet. That's what we used. We used the big 4 CD sheet ones. Let me see if I can get an image here. Better. Yeah, this guy. Yeah. It was this. So the nice thing about organizing your CD collection in a binder like this, then what we did is we used Microsoft Excel to store all of the information for every CD we had in a big spreadsheet. Okay? So what we did is we took like the first CD off the rack and we put it in this envelope right here, like in this first one. And then we took a Sharpie marker and we wrote number 1. This is spot number 1, spot number 2, spot number 3, spot number 4. Then we turned the page, we numbered it 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Then we turned the page and we numbered it 9, 10, 11, 12, right? And then in the spreadsheet, we put the envelope number it was in as an index number. So what you could do is, the nice thing about a spreadsheet is once you get all the information in your spreadsheet, like the name of the artist, the year it came out, the genre of the music, whether it's jazz or reggae or rock and roll, you can sort it in the spreadsheet later. So my roommate could sit down at the spreadsheet and say, sort all of this information by genre, so he could look at just the jazz, right? And then when he found Stan Getz, he could go, oh, well, that's in envelope 13. So he could just turn to number 13, and there was the disc. The nice thing about that is if you went out and you bought a new CD, unlike having it alphabetized on the shelf, if you bought a new ABBA CD, you didn't have to put it in the front. You could put it in the last. It didn't matter if it was alphabetized in the folder, because you looked it up by the number that it was in, right? So the ABBA CD might have been in slot 110. It didn't matter, because you could look at the spreadsheet and say, show me everything alphabetical, and ABBA would be at the top, but it would tell you it was in envelope number 110. And you could just flip through 110, and then you could pull it out, right? We could also print the spreadsheet and put it in the envelope itself. So you didn't always have to go to a computer. You could just, you just look for a disk. And what was nice about it really was it took a shelf that took up an entire wall, and it brought it down to 3 of these 3-ring binders. It took up almost no space at all. We got a huge corner. So it was a space saver. So Artis, he's a big movie guy, and he's not here. He took this class before, but we're going to do an example today that you can do with movies at home. The same kind of thing here. If you've got a lot of DVDs at home or even CDs, you can throw away those big bulky boxes and you can put them in an envelope like this, and you can create a spreadsheet with all of the movies listed in your spreadsheet. Okay, that is an example of something you can do at home, and we're going to do that together today. We're going to make our own spreadsheet pretending that we're putting our movies into these envelopes. Okay, now that's just a spreadsheet that will track a large amount of information. Next week, we're going to create a different spreadsheet where we're going to start putting calculations into cells. That's when it's going to get a little bit more complicated. But today, we're just going to get a feel of how to move around Excel, how to enter data into a cell, and how to build what we call a logical data table that will allow us to put in records of information for every movie we have in our collection.
Is Excel just for spreadsheets?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So if you were to buy Microsoft Office is a collection of different applications that do different things. So Microsoft Word is their word processing, and it's just used to type letters. Excel is their spreadsheet program. But Microsoft Office also comes with PowerPoint, which can create slideshows. And it comes with Publisher, which is desktop publishing for making books and stuff like that. Comes with a lot of other stuff. So, but Excel is strictly their spreadsheet software, and Google Sheets.
So I have another question. If I was just starting out with computers, never having to have one, and so how would I have known about Excel and all those other word processing apps that they have? Would I just Google that in and ask?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how you would know. I don't know how you would know.
Usually is like,
Well,
when I get in on the web, and then the website.
so you can probably, this isn't probably going to be a great answer for you, but like, how do I know that a spreadsheet program exists if I'm not good at computers and I just bought a brand new computer? You probably don't know. Yeah, you probably don't know, because you probably don't, there's probably a bunch of different types of software out there that I don't even know exists. And you don't realize it until you need it for something. But computers, like you took the basic computer courses, this can do an infinite amount of things. Anything that you want to do that is kind of has a logic flow to it, there's a computer program application that'll help you.
So basically, what would I do if I was in that situation where I've never had a computer, I'm getting in and I want to start Excel, or if would I ask Google how to start it, or what way to learn about the Microsoft Word processing and stuff like that?
You could do that. You could go to Google and say, well, what software can I use if I want to start typing letters? And it'll say, well, you'll want a word processor. And there are many different companies out there that make word processors, and you can choose between Google Docs, Microsoft Word, OpenOffice, Word Perfect was a popular one too. So yeah, Google would help. That's a library. The library is a great place to go. You know, our reference librarians, that's what they do. They come and they answer your question. And if it's too technical for them, you know, because they're not computer people, they're computer savvy though. I mean, they have to get their degrees using computers a lot. But if it gets too technical, then they call me. They call the computer guy, and we work together that way. So yeah, the library is a great place to go, especially if you're brand new to computers and you don't even know what's possible. It's like, yeah, come talk to a reference librarian. They'll tell you exactly what's possible. Okay, so this, what you see on the screen here, is Google Sheets. It is Google's free version of a spreadsheet program, their version of Excel, basically. Okay, and It's got a little toolbar, and it's got these drop-down menus. And we talked about this last week. Remember, the drop-down menus in Google Sheets are replaced in Excel with this ribbon toolbar. So the Excel, I'm going to switch over to Excel now. In Excel, we don't have drop-down menus. We have this ribbon toolbar. And everything we need to get to can be found on this toolbar. And then see this little box? This will open up all of the font settings. So you can format a lot of stuff here. But the only real difference is Excel doesn't have the drop-down menus. And we saw this already in the word processing in Microsoft Word class. Okay. And we also talked about the cloud in our last class, which is not on the computer. It's not software installed on the computer. It's software that you're using on a computer out on the internet, and you're accessing it through your browser. Okay, that's what we mean by cloud-based computing. This is Google Sheets is actually using a fully functional spreadsheet program that's out on the internet, not on your computer. Okay. But let me show you what the workspace is, how it's set up in Excel. First of all, we have columns. This is column D, column E, and they're lettered. So we know what column we're talking about. Column F, column B. We also have rows, and these rows are numbered. Row 1, row 2, like this here is row 5. The intersection of a column and a row is what we call a cell. And we call that cell, this cell that I have selected right here, cell C5. We use the letter of the column and the number of the row to define the cell we're looking at, cell C5. So while we're working, I might occasionally tell you, okay, click in cell B2. And you're going to have to look up at the top. You have to find column B and row 2. And at that intersection, that's the cell I'm talking about. This is cell B2 right here. The intersection of column B and the intersection of row 2. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a logical data table to store a list of our movies and all of the information that we want to store about our movies, right? Maybe who stars in the movie, maybe what year the movie was made, and we also need to put an index number in there so we can find that movie in our 3-ring binder, right? We might have the movie Titanic all the way back in envelope number 100, but our spreadsheet, when we see Titanic, will say, oh, your Titanic disc is in envelope number 111. So you have to flip through the 111 to find it. But before we do that, there are a few rules to follow when you're creating a logical data table in Excel that will make the information that you're putting into Excel very flexible to be used in other programs, okay? Or to be able to sort the information. So you can sort the list of movies, either, sort all my movies by who stars in the movie, right? And then what it's going to do is it's going to reorganize every movie you have listed in your table by who stars in it. You might want to sit down and you might just be in the mood for a Jackie Chan movie. Okay, just sort the whole list by Jackie Chan. And then you'll see all your Jackie Chan movies in one big chunk. Just like my roommate who wanted to look at just jazz, right? And then you could, next day, you go, well, I'm not really interested in anything in particular. Just show me, sort the whole list by title of the movie. And you could just alphabetically look down all your movies alphabetically. Okay. But to do that, we have a few rules we have to follow. Okay. This is a little technical. Don't worry. If you don't get it right away, it'll start to sink in when we create our own logical data table. Okay. The information that goes into a column, we call that a field of information. The information that goes into a row, like row 2, we call that a record of information. I'm going to show you an example of a phone book. Yeah, this. This is an example of a spreadsheet somebody created to keep a list of their contacts. Okay. This is an example of using a spreadsheet to store a large amount of information. Okay. When you have a large amount of information to store, you might have a movie collection of 500 movies. Artist probably has 500 movies. Talking about him, he's not even here today, but once you have a big list like that, that's when a spreadsheet becomes really valuable, because you have 500 things you got to keep track of, and you need to know where they are and what year the movie came out and what envelope number it's in and all that. But this is what it would look like if you were using a spreadsheet to create a contact list. We're already, and I told you that the column of information stores what we call a field of information. You're already used to hearing that word field. You've heard that word field before, right? When you go to a website and it'll say, well, fill out the following fields of, like, fill out, put your name in the name field, right? Like when you go to checkout at Amazon, you know, and you buy something on Amazon online, and it takes you to a web page and says, okay, well, what's your address? Put your address in the address field. And then there's a little box that says, okay, put the city name in the city field. That's what the field is. When you are on a web page and you type your name and your address and your phone number, right? It stores it like this. This is how they store it. They store it as each line is a record of information, and each column is a field of information, right? So, like this first column says category at the very top. That's the third rule. There are 3 rules we need to worry about. The first rule is a column contains a field of information. Rule number 2 is a row is a record of information. Rule number 3, the information that goes in the very top cell of a column, like in cell C1 or in cell E1, the very top cell that you can type in is what we call a column header or a label to describe the information that is in the column.
That's rule number 3.
That's rule number 3.
Okay, column of what?
Column header. The very first cell in the top of a column is your column header. Okay, do me a favor before you head out.
Yeah.
Fire up these computers, the ones that people are at, and just open up Excel for them and open up a blank spreadsheet. I'm sorry, I'll keep you over about 15 minutes. I apologize. And in this example, this is what this looks like. See at the very top of every column, they typed in the word company or the name work phone or the name work email. Those are your column headers. And the column headers are meant to define the type of information that is in the column, your field of information. So column 1 here is what we call the category field. Everything in this column is going to be a category. See this row, column 2 here, where it says first name? At the very top of the column, it says first name. That is your column header. It describes the information that belongs in the column. Everything in that column is going to be a first name. I'm gonna let Sam get caught up here a little bit, getting so he can leave. Start the meeting. If you follow these 3 rules, it makes the data that you're storing exceptionally flexible. It can be used in all sorts of ways. Okay? And I'm going to show you one of those ways. We can take Microsoft Word and we can type up like a form letter, and we can pull information from a spreadsheet into that form letter and automate a lot of different letters. This is how the water company sends you a water bill. Okay? You know when you get your water bill in the mail, it has your name and address at the top, and it's got a little paragraph saying, "Oh, hi, John. Your water bill this month is this much money for this address," and it's typed up, nice little letter. They don't type a letter for every single person. They type one letter. And then they have a spreadsheet of every customer, their address, and how much money they owe. And they put them together. And they say, and we can do this in Word and Excel both, is what we can do. We can type up a little letter in Microsoft Word that says, "Dear name field," right?
Have a good weekend.
"You owe amount field at address field." You don't have to put in the name. You don't have to put in the amount. You don't have to put in the address. And then what you do is you can tell Word to say, "Go to this spreadsheet and pull the name field in for the name, pull the amount from the amount field into the amount, and pull the address into that, and then print out the letter." That's like a form letter. And you can tell Microsoft Word, you can have a spreadsheet like the water company. I mean, how many people we have in East Chicago? 30,000 people, right? So the water company might have a spreadsheet with 30,000 names and numbers on it. They can type one letter, and they can tell the letter, just go pull the information from the spreadsheet, pop it into the right spots of the letter, print out the letter, and send it to John for the water bill. They don't have to type in each one. So what we're going to do next week, after we do the second spreadsheet class, I'll show you an example of that. In Microsoft Word, they call it a mail merge, is what they call it. I'll show you how it's done, and we're not going to walk you through it because it's one of those things you need to know it's there in case you ever need to use it, but it's not something people use a lot. Yeah, David.
They make a mistake on these bills. They send
I don't know. I live in Portage. I'm on a well.
I'm saying to myself, you keep saying that you can tell Microsoft. So basically, we don't even have to do the work ourselves. We can just use I can tell Microsoft what to do when we're in our worksheet.
What do you mean?
So we're in a worksheet now.
Yeah.
And there's a field of names.
Yeah.
So we can hit the micro.
No, you have to set it up. And I'll show you how to set it up. So basically, what you do is you type the letter, and then in the spots where you're going to pull information from a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
you can tell. Well, first you say, well, I want to put in this letter. I want this to be a form letter that's going to print out a bunch of different copies for each customer. And then it'll say, okay, well, Word will ask, well, where is your list of data? And you say, well, it's this spreadsheet. The spreadsheet that we created and saved. You can just say, well, it's this. And it says, okay. It looks at the spreadsheet and it can see your column headers.
Okay.
So then you'll say, well, dear, and then you could say, well, I want to pick a field from my spreadsheet. And I'll say, well, these are the fields in your spreadsheet. And it's a field, right? So it's a column. And then one of those fields is going to be first name. So then you can put dear, and then you just insert the first name field. It doesn't say anything. But then when you hit print, it'll go through every record in your database, and it'll print out a letter for every record. Okay? So a column of information is a field and a row of information is a record. And what might help you understand that a little bit better is everything in a field is going to be the same type of information. If it's a name field, everything in that column's got to be a name. That's everything in that column is going to be a name. If it says phone number at the top as your column header, describing that column as the phone number field, everything in that column is going to be a phone number. So a column is going to always have the same type of information. A record is going to be different types of information, but all related, right? So when you're looking at the spreadsheet that the water company made, you can probably look down under the R's, Lisa, and find you, and it's going to be your name and your record, your row of information is all going to be related to you. So that is what's unique about a record of information. On that record, it's going to be your name, your address, your phone number, your water bill. It's always going to belong to you. So a column is a field of information, all the same type, all phone numbers, but not related to each other. And a row is different types of information, but it's all got to be related to the same person. Nothing in that record is going to be about anybody else but you if that's your record, right? Bronca, same way with you. Everything on that line is going to be your name, your address, your water bill, everything. And if you look at this phone book example, that's how it is, right?
So then that's a good question I want to ask right here.
Yeah.
When we're in Sheets.
Yeah, Sheets or Excel, either one, right?
In the records of, like you're saying, everything in the records is in my name.
Yeah.
And everything in the column is a field of information.
Right.
Oh, I just lost what I was going to say. Never mind.
Well, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is, that is true. No, that's true. I feel it. I do. Once you get into your 50s, you lose the brain cells with your phone number on it or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, it happens.
That's why we have to keep a record.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. Good point. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a logical data table of the movies that we own that we're going to be putting into this envelope. Okay. And we're going to use this as an example because hopefully it's something that maybe you can find if you have a collection of something at home that you need to keep track of where it's at, like movies or anything like that. It might be something you can do at home because using a spreadsheet, we can get through today, but if you don't use this and actually logic your way through a real project of your own, that's when you're really going to learn this, right? When you really do it on your own. Yeah.
So the record of information, is there going to be something, we have these inserts right here up on top. Is there going to be something that say, when we open up our own spreadsheet, is there going to be something saying, here's the records of these information, or do you want to do records or do you want to do columns?
It's up to us to make that.
Exactly.
It is exactly up to us to make that. So when you're sitting down to create your own spreadsheet, because why are you doing this? It's two reasons. You need to either automate calculations, either have numbers that you need to put in a number and have it automatically calculate things like a bank ledger, or you need to track a lot of information. Those are the two main things that you're using a spreadsheet for. Today, we're going to track a lot of information. Next week, we're going to automate calculations. That's a little bit different. We're going to be putting math into cells and have it calculate numbers from other cells. Right. That's next week. But today, we have to think about how we're going to design our spreadsheet. Right? Now, we know.
If I went in on my own to open up and go in my own spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Am I going to have to look up to go back and go in and say, well, I want to see the records of the information that I have?
So the spreadsheet is the record and the fields in the records. It is. And what we're going to do, so the spreadsheet is a blank template designed for us to create our own fields and enter records of information in.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to do.
And
So-
I start and I automatically open it, it's mine.
Right.
That I have.
So we don't have any fields defined in this spreadsheet. We have column 1, column 2, column 3. That's not our field though. Fields fit into a column, but we have to define that field by in the very top cell describing what's going to be in it. And if we do that and we put in the very top cell the description of what belongs underneath it, later on when we go to sort the data in the cell, you'll notice that the top row doesn't move. All the other rows will move depending on how we sort it. But the top row, the spreadsheet knows, no, that's not part of the data. That's a description of the data. That's what a column header is. Okay, so I'm going to go around and make sure that we're all looking at the same spreadsheet because we're going to start making our spreadsheet.
This sounds like genealogy. It could be used for genealogy.
Yes,
What do you think?
it can be used for about anything you can need to keep track of. As a matter of fact, they use it for NASA uses it for rocket science. You can use it for anything. It's amazing.
Can be used for pictures?
Yeah. You could. I'm just going to zoom you guys in a little bit so we're all looking at the same. All looking the same way.
Excel column. CL. UMN. UMN, I have good. I'm good. And then look.
I was wondering, if you have no need for calculations,
Yeah.
why not use Word to create a table for simple sorts? Is there?
You could. Word has the ability to insert a table, but
Sorts,
and sort.
different columns.
That's true. And if it's a very simple table, you could use Word to do it. But once it starts getting complicated, Word is going to be a little limited. You've heard the term of a database?
Yeah.
Okay, so a database is a collection of related data tables.
Can you retrieve in Word? In a Word table?
Well,
I mean, I don't remember.
what do you mean by retrieve?
Can you do a search?
A rudimentary search. You can do a rudimentary search, but in Excel, you can create a calculation that'll do searches in large amounts of data. If you're making a little table of 5 records, and you're not going to need to sort them or do any calculations, there's no problem creating a small table in Word and putting that information into there. That's not a problem. But this is actually for when you want to do a little bit more with it. Either do calculations, have a large amount of data. I would say once you get past 20, 30 records, Word's going to be kind of difficult to manage.
I just, for, to do something for a household in Excel is challenging to learn for most people. Maybe they can still get the benefit of organization using, creating a simple table in Word. I'm just thinking that.
Possibly. But
I like Excel. I mean, I'm not bad mouthing it.
what, do you use it? Are you okay with it?
I do use it.
Okay. All right. So once you get the idea of columns and rows, I mean,
Sometimes I use Word too to do a simple table.
Word is designed for the printed page. Excel is designed as a tool.
It's more mathematical. I mean, that's when I want to keep track of numbers, however they have, whatever they are, cost or,
Right.
that's where I would head to.
Right. If your sole purpose is to keep track of information, I would say Excel is the better tool. Could you use Word? You could, but once it starts getting complicated, it's going to show, you're going to see its limitations.
So you're talking about like household expenses or like.
Simple math.
Yeah, or simple math. But see, Word can't do simple math.
No, it doesn't. Like I said, you don't have any need for calculations.
But it would be good for kids with simple math that do timetable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good tool to know how it works. And it's a good tool just to know how it works in case you need it. Because there's going to come a point where you're going to sit down with Word and you're going to go, this is difficult. Excel might be the better option. So when you sit down to keep track of a large amount of information, the first thing you ask yourself is, okay, well, I need to make a data table of information about the movies that I have. What information do you want your spreadsheet to hold about your movies? Those are going to be your column headers. Those are going to be your fields of information.
Would be a good field for tax records.
Tax, yeah, all that kind of stuff. But so let's just worry about the movies right now. So like, okay, well, what kind of information do we want to keep track about our movies? Well, we want the title. We need the title of the movie, right? Maybe we want to know who stars in it, right? So we can sort by just Jackie Chan and look at your Jackie. Maybe we want to see what year the movie was made. Maybe we want to know the running time, right? All of these things are going to be your column headers. They're going to be your fields of information. And then once you get those in, then all you have to do is fill in each record on its own. Okay? So I want everybody to click with your mouse into cell A1 here. The very top cell in column A. Cell A1. The first thing I want to keep track of with my list of movies is the title of the movie. So when you click in cell A1, start typing the word title. Title. Okay. So now if you notice, you see how I have a little blinking cursor in the cell? That is telling me that I'm editing text inside the cell. Okay, and it's going to stay there until we tell the computer, okay, I'm done typing, commit this data to the cell. There's more than one way to commit the data to the cell. The easiest way is the enter key. So let's just do this. Hit the enter key on the keyboard. Type in title and then hit the enter key on the keyboard. Now, what did it do? It moved the selected cell down one to cell A2, right? And it committed the word title to cell A1. Okay, that's good. That's what we wanted cell A1 to say, title. If you mess up, Control Z is your undo. It will undo the last thing that you did. Remember, that is a tool that works in Word and Excel and all over. You also have a toolbar button for it up here. It's this little back arrow here, undo. Yeah, Control Z is your friend. That's nice. Okay, so this is now the title field. Column A is the title field. Everything below the word title is going to be the title of a movie. That's rule one. A field of information is a column, and everything in that column is going to be the same kind of information. It's all going to be titles of a movie. Now, we didn't have to use the enter key to commit the data to the cell. We could have used the tab key or the arrow keys as well. Those will all work. Why would we want to use something different? Well, the first thing I'm thinking of is the next thing I want to type into the spreadsheet is in cell B1. I want to put in cell B1 the next information I'm going to hold. My next field is the running time. But when I hit the enter key, it moved my selection down one. It would have been a lot better if it moved it over to the right and I could have just kept typing. The tab key would have done that. It would have committed the data to the cell, but instead of moving you down, it would have moved you to the right. So it really depends on how you're filling out information. It's going to be up for you to choose which way you want to commit the data to the cell. You can use the up arrow or the left arrow, and it'll commit the data to the cell too, but it's all where it's going to put it next. So let's click in cell B1. Take your mouse and click one time into cell B1. That's the very top of column B. This is going to be our second column header. Our second field name is called running time. Type in running time. Now, this time, when we're done typing in running time, instead of hitting the enter key, hit the tab key to commit the data to the cell. And you'll notice that it moves our selection to the right instead of down. What we did is we typed in the word running time here. And then when we were done typing in running time, we hit the tab key instead of the enter key to commit the data to the cell. And when we did that, see what it did? It committed the data to the cell, but it moved our selected cell over to the right instead of down one, which is good because the next cell we're going to type in is cell C1, which is good. But we have a problem. Right. The word running time kind of is too wide for column B. No. We need to increase the column size. It's a good guess, though.
I thought to minimize it or to downsize running time.
No, because if we were to print this out, we would want the column headers to be consistent. We'd want it to look consistent. So the right way to do this is just to increase the width of column B. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Remember when we were learning how to use the mouse? I told you if that mouse pointer changes from the arrow to anything else, it's giving you a hint that something else can be done. If we move that mouse pointer to the line right between column B and C, see this little line right here? See how that mouse pointer changes to a line with two arrows? If you click and drag right when you see that mouse pointer change to that line with the right and the left arrows, see what it does? It allows you to do? It allows you to click and drag the width of the column out to be wider. I'll do that again. You put your mouse pointer right on that line between the B and the C there, see that? And you click and drag, it will allow you to make the column bigger or smaller or bigger. Now here's the trick. If you put that mouse pointer on that line and double click, it looks in the column for the longest string and automatically adjusts the column to fit the longest. So watch. When I double click right now, I only have one thing in there. It's going to look at the word running time and it's going to automatically make that column width fit column running time perfectly. Right, I'm going to click, 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 click. See what it did? It snapped it to be perfectly wide enough for running time.
I like that.
I picked it once anyway, right? So, yeah, but I get it.
And we're going to be, as we're putting data in here, we're going to have to go up and we're going to have to adjust these column widths as we go. And that's fine. So you'll get more used to that as we go. But so just a reminder, when you sit down to create a new spreadsheet to store data, the first thing you ask yourself is, what is the kind of data I want my spreadsheet to hold? And that is going to be your column headers. What other information do we want to store about these movies? Well, the next thing I want is the year it was made. So in cell C1 here, I want you to type in year. Now that fits in the column nicely. So now we can hit the tab key and we can go over to the very top of column D, cell D1, And the field that we're going to define in column D is the genre. What genre of movie it is, like a comedy or an action or a horror movie. So we're going to type in genre, which has got a weird spelling. It's G-E-N-R-E, genre. Okay. Now I've noticed a mistake that I've made. But I made the mistake on purpose to teach you something. So basically, as we take our movies out of our big plastic DVD cases and we put them into the envelope, we needed to keep track of what envelope spot they were in, remember? They call that an index number. That's what they call an index, right? Like an index card, right? Well, I wanted a field for index, but I kind of wanted that index field to be the first column, but I forgot. So what would we do here? We need to insert a new blank column. I forgot to put in an index field. The index field, which is going to put the number of the envelope that the movie's in. That's what I forgot to type in. I forgot to create an index field. I started with my column headers, and then I went, oh, I wanted index, and I kind of wanted index to be the first column, and I forgot. So I need to go in here, and I need to insert a new column, and you do that by clicking anywhere in column A, and up at our toolbar, there is an insert. See that? And if you float your mouse over it, it'll say insert cells, rows, columns, or sheets into your workbook. There's a little arrow here, and you need to be on your home toolbar to see this. You need to make sure you're in your home toolbar. But if you go up to insert and you hit this little, you could say insert a column. And when you do that, see what it did? It gave me a new blank column for column A, and it shifted everything over to the right. I'll show you that again. I'm going to hit Control-Z to undo it. Control-Z undoes it. I'm going to click anywhere in column A. Doesn't matter. Anywhere in column A. And then I'm going to go up to my Insert button. I'm going to click on this little arrow, and I'm going to say Insert a Sheet Column. And when I choose Insert a Column, you'll notice, click, it inserts a column, and it shifts all my other columns over to the right.
I did it on one, that's the thing.
Oh, in cell 1? That's fine. Anywhere in the column. You could have had column A9 selected. Doesn't matter. Now, if you were inserting a row, it would matter what row you were in. But when you're inserting a column, it doesn't matter what row you're in. It matters what column you're in. See, if I was over here in year column and I said insert a column, it's going to insert a column here. And I didn't want it there. I'm going to undo that. Okay. And sometimes you might want to insert a row, but you'll know when you need to. So now what I'm going to do is cell A1, at the very top of column A, cell A1 here, that is going to be my index field. That's where I'm going to put the number of the envelope that I put my DVD in. So type in index on the top of cell A1. And is everybody caught up this far, or do you need some help?
I haven't know it's hard.
Huh?
I cannot find this, sir.
Oh, okay. I'll be back there in a second. That's because we're on our view toolbar. We need to be on our home toolbar here.
Ah,
Now we have insert, hit that arrow, hit the arrow. Insert column. Insert sheet column. Third one down. Nope. Oh, no, above it.
it's the shift call.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh, it's so.
It's a challenge.
And then we're going to tab. So we'll put running time there.
And it's in like this.
And and then we're gonna tab. Oh, but you know what? Can you resize that? Push that bottom corner right on that one. Yeah, double click. Or click and drag. There you go. Good. Okay. Running time and then year. Type in year and then tab and then type in genre. Year on the top of D. We got title. Got running time. We need that. So I'm gonna put the mouse pointer there. And then year and genre are on the same cell. We wanted year here. So we wanted title, running time, year. Oh, I think I forgot a column. And then good. Okay. I forgot another column. Who stars in the movie? How did I forget that? It's actually right after running time. I wanted it between running time and year. So we're going to do another insert column. Okay, but this time we're going to insert a new column between running time and between year. So we need to click anywhere in column D. Anywhere. Every time I get an electric shock from my computer, it shuts off that screen. Yeah, so we're going to click anywhere in column D. Doesn't matter what cell. Just make sure anywhere in column D. We're going to go back up to insert D, as in dog, where it says year there. And we're going to insert a sheet column. And then in cell D1, we're going to put starring. And that's going to be who stars in the movie. And we can commit the data to the cell by hitting the enter key, the tab key, or the arrow keys. It doesn't matter at this point because we're kind of done. So we should have column A, our column header is index, saying that this is the index field. Everything in this column is going to be an index number. Column B is the title field. Column C is the running time field. Column D is starring, year, and genre. Okay. So that is basically how you start a spreadsheet. You put at the very top of the columns the descriptors of every piece of data you want to put in. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to sit down and you're going to type in all the information for every movie, each record. So the first movie you pull out, right? You're going to have to put in the index number, the title of that movie, how long the running time is, who stars in it, the year, and the genre. Yeah, Daisy? Oh. Okay, click anywhere in column. Yeah, that's fine. Now, go to the home toolbar. See that home toolbar? Right at home. There, right there. Home. Now, here is our insert. We're going to insert a column here. So we need to click somewhere in this column and then go over here to insert. That arrow. This is a little arrow. That little arrow you drop down. So you need to choose insert sheet column. For the column. Yeah. See what I did? Insert the column. Now we need to do the same thing in year. Click anywhere in year here.
I know what you're asking.
Good. Now do the same thing. The arrow next to insert, you choose insert sheet column. The arrow. Hit the arrow on the right there. There. Hit that. Insert sheet count.
That's all done electronic.
Good. Now, we're going to type index here, and star in here. Okay? Index title, running time, starting here, John. Perfect. All right, good. So, I have a pretty big movie collection at home, but we're only going to be putting in 4 movies today, or we're going to be here all day. All right. So, look up here and follow along. I'm going to start entering. How? I'm getting static electricity shocks from my computer. I know. It fries the TV when I get a shock. It's crazy. I have to ground myself. Okay. So the very first movie we're going to put in is the Blues Brothers. And it goes in index number 1. So I pulled the Blues Brothers off the shelf. I put it in envelope slot number 1. So I type 1 in my index, and I'm going to put in the title, Blues Brothers. And I don't put in the. I'll just leave off the words the at the beginning. Because if you want to sort it by name, then you're going to have a bunch of things under the. So the right way to do that is put Blues Brothers, comma the, or just Blues Brothers. No, because I wanted to show the whole name, but what we have to do now is look at what it did. It's too wide for the column. So we're going to have to widen this column out. So we're going to do this again. So we're going to take our mouse right on the line there between B and C, and we're either going to double click to auto size or click and drag to make it fit the word the Blues Brothers. If you want to click and drag out, there's some other longer names coming. But let's talk about running time real quick, because this is important. How we store numbers in Excel is important. So the running time for the Blues Brothers was a pretty long movie at the time. It was 2 hours and 2 hours and 40 minutes.
40?
Maybe 2 hours and 10 minutes. Is like, well, no, it was 200 minutes.
So 2 hours.
Well, 120 minutes is 2 hours, right?
Right, okay.
So how many is that?
40.
It's actually, that's probably 200 minutes is wrong.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's too long. What is the running time of the Blues Brothers? 2 hours and 13 minutes. Okay. So that's 133 minutes. Don't do this. I'm just gonna show you what this looks like. So there's a couple of things we can do here. We can type in 2 hours and 13 minutes like that. Or we could type in 133 minutes. Or we can just type in 133. What do you notice different about those 3 things? One moved over to the right. The other 2 stuck to the left. You'll notice the same thing here in index number, right? See, index number, right justified it. It put the number to the right. But Blues Brothers, it put it to the left. And that is how we write numbers and letters. If we're doing math, remember, everything is right justified with that decimal point. But if we're writing words, everything is left justified. So what is this telling me about these 3 things that I typed in under running time? It's telling me that Excel sees 2 of those as text, and 1 of them is a number. Right?
Yeah, it's just number, because you have hours and minutes already.
As soon as I put in an H or an M or an MIN, it ceases to be a number in that cell. As soon as you put in a letter, which means that in the future, if I wanted to do a calculation off of those cells, it wouldn't work.
Because of the letter?
Right. So say, for example, somebody said, let's have a Jackie Chan movie marathon. Let's watch all the Jackie Chan movies. How many minutes of Jackie Chan movies do you own? Well, if I had a big spreadsheet with 40 Jackie Chan movies in there, I could calculate up really quick and easy in a spreadsheet all the total minutes. But if one of those were typed in 133.min, the calculation would fail because I'm trying to add text to numbers. It's just going to choke. So a good rule of thumb when you're in the number. There are also times when we create a spreadsheet that other people are going to be putting information into it, right? For example, my roommate's in the music example. My roommate might have bought a new CD. And he might have put it into an envelope, and he's going to the spreadsheet to update information. I might know enough to put in 133 with no MIN. He might not. So when I'm creating a spreadsheet and I want everything in that column to be consistently a number or consistent, I'll sometimes put in the column header how I want it to appear. So for example, what I'm going to do is I want to change running time up here to say running time in minutes. This way, if I type in running time in minutes, then hopefully even if somebody else sat down and put it in, they'll go, oh, don't put 2H13M, put 133, right? To keep it all consistent. Because you never know. You might in the future want to total all the Jackie Chan minutes you own for a movie marathon. I don't know. It's just why we keep things consistent. So there's two things I want you to do. First of all, I want you to learn how to edit text that's already in a cell. So see this running time here? It's already committed to the cell, right? How do we edit it? We double click on the cell and it'll put the cursor back in. And now what we can do is we can, at the end of the word running time, we can put our cursor and in parentheses type in minutes and then hit the enter key to recommit the data to the cell. We're going to have to widen the column again. So to edit text that is already in a cell, you double click on the cell and then it'll give you your cursor back in that cell.
Okay, you said type in what now?
Can you see it up there? It says in minutes in parentheses after the word running time. And while you're in there, put a space in there. Put a space between running time. Double click right on the word running time. Click, click. Yeah, click. It's hard.
Oh,
You have a light touch on. See what it did? If you get it right, you'll see that little cursor in there. You see some arrows. That cursor around. It's space. Put space in there. And I'm going to move that cursor to the end of time. What we're going to do is write parentheses. And then in.
I want to just put in
minutes.
parentheses in minutes.
And then I'm going to close the parentheses. Shift here. This is close parentheses. So there we go. That's what I wanted you to do. See how you did that? But the whole thing is if you want to enter text in there, you have to double click to start editing the text and then double index.
Backward. Go back on the column. Okay.
We're gonna make this column wire down to the running time here. You're welcome. Okay. Double click on running time. Right on the cell where running time is. Right there, click, click. See, we get our cursor back. What I want you to do is I want you to, if you need to edit text that's already in a cell, you double click right where that text is. Click, click. Now, see you have a cursor here? Now what we can do is we can go to the end of time there, and we're going to type in minutes in parentheses. In minutes. And then we're going to close our parentheses. See, we added running time in minutes to that column header. Now we got to lengthen that column out a little bit more. Running time in minutes. And then 133, right?
Yeah.
And so I had put in the running time, but I can't get it to slide open.
You can't get the column to slide over?
I had it, but then I didn't click on the seed where it was conversation.
Right on the line. Oh, it's not in there. Now, if we double click. So put it in under running time at 133 minutes. Good. Very good.
Yes. You said I can do pictures like on the.
You could, but there may be a better tool for pictures. Nowadays, we used to store pictures in like this, and we still do in the library sense, right? If we're documenting photographs we have in our historical collection, we still put them in a spreadsheet like this. But if you're talking personal photographs, there are some tools on the internet that make it pretty easy to search for things in the photo. Because nowadays the computers are smart enough to look at a photo and can tell what's in the photo. Since computers can learn now, we've taught them to recognize a cat. So I don't have to, if I want to find a picture of my cat, I can just tell a computer, look through all my pictures and show me all the pictures of a cat. It understands what a cat is. Plants too. Yeah, it does a really good job of that nowadays.
So now we're doing 133.
All right, so now the rest of this is really just data entry. So all we got to do, and this is going to get you used to typing a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 4 movies, my first 4 movies up here, and you're going to type them in. So we're going to put in a record at a time. Remember, a record of information is all the same. It's all different types of information, but it's all related. So record number 1 that we put in was for the Blues Brothers. We know the index number, the packet that it went to in our folder. We know the running time in minutes, 133 minutes. It stars John Belushi. The year was 1980, and the genre was comedy. Yes, it was filmed in 79. It was released in 1980. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to go and enter in the rest of the movies. Because index number 2 is Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm just putting in all my favorite movies, if you haven't noticed. Yeah. And I'm dating myself. So Raiders of the Lost Ark was 101 minutes. And you didn't lose it all. You probably just scrolled down a little bit.
Scroll down a lot.
Just scroll up.
I did, but now I got number 1. I undid. Oh, well, there's.
Okay, yeah, so that's what you do. You scroll down. You just got to scroll back.
But then I didn't have, I tried to put in a time for 1:33.
Oh, that's because you know one. You were paging them. And then Raiders of the Lost Ark was starring Harrison Ford. And what year was that? It was 1981. And we're going to call that a thriller.
Action adventure.
Action adventure. Okay, that's fine. Just call it action. Oh, and then when I hit the enter key after action, I typed in the word action and I hit enter, and it put my cursor all the way over there because it knows I'm putting it in a record at a time. That's really handy. Yeah, that was smart. Okay, then number 3 is Star Wars. And that was 95 minutes long, and that starred Mark Hamill. And that was 1977. And that was science fiction. And then movie number 4, I'm just going to put in Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind. Oops, I messed that up. Gone with the Wind was actually a 238-minute running time. That is a long movie, 238 minutes. It starred Clark Gable. Okay. Running year, anybody?
Long time.
Perfect. 1939. Call that a drama. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
What?
Period.
Period piece? Yeah, maybe.
It would be more period to me.
Let's ask AI and see what it thinks. Yeah.
Got a lot of drama in it. Romance?
What kind of genre of movie would Gone with the Wind be considered?
What? What is that?
A dramatic historical epic. It also has
Dramatic historical epic. So a little bit of both. Drama, period piece. I'm going to say drama because I already have it typed in. Okay, so go ahead and get caught up by filling in each record of information. And when you're done, I'm going to show you a couple of little things we can do with our data table. Oh yeah, that's Bruce Willis. That's not Harrison Ford. Yeah, Bruce Willis is still alive too, but he's got like some very,
Temporal.
he's got a unique type of dementia or something, and he's unable to act now. Yeah. He's not doing too well. Yeah. Yes. You're right there. You probably just scrolled down. So here's what happens. So the scroll wheel on your mouse, if you scroll down, see what it does? It looks like everything goes away. But if you scroll back up, you'll find it up at the top. So you might have just scrolled down. So take the scroll wheel, and then also if you scrolled left to right, you might have just clicked and dragged like this, and then if you scroll up to the right, it looks like everything's gone.
Or you might have been like me and put in, time, and it dropped. I had,
Well, right. So if you're using the number pad and you don't have numlock on, it'll page down.
yeah, I think
It'll
that-
page down. Oh, you just. Two, and then tab, and then the title, and then tab. And then the one. Right. The tab is here. Yeah. Oh, I get this one. Well, it's your editing data in the cell. So you can just type in and hit enter. So running time of Star Wars is 95 minutes. So just type in 95, then hit tab, and then, yeah. And if you don't get it all done, that's okay. Get as much in as you can, because there's all different levels of typing skills. And that's fine. It's a good movie, but when it came out in 1977, it was such a striking special effects thing that we see a lot better special effects these days. I don't know if it would have the same impact,
The competing movie at that time was Close Encounters.
which was really good too.
I saw that. That was more up my alley.
That was good.
That's more up my alley than Star Wars. Is that with that guy, the Dreyfus?
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss. Yeah.
I was just more interested in action,
Well, Star Wars was meant for 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I mean.
It's
like a cowboy movie.
it's exactly right. It was like the George Lucas called it like Buck Rogers, or it was like those kind of movies. What he wanted to do is he wanted to make like the space serials that he saw on TV when he was little, but he wanted to do it with the same kind of special effects that they had in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Flash Gordon.
Yeah, so he wanted it to be like Flash Gordon, but with realistic special effects, like he saw in 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was 67, I think. it really looked like outer space. And they really did a good job of making it look authentically like they were in space. So George Lucas's idea was, he's like, no, I want to take like the 12, 13-year-old kiddie space serial, but on a level that the special effects looked real. And that was, the opening scene was like nothing I'd ever seen. I was 7, so I was pretty impressionable in the theater. Seeing my dad's friend from Inland Steel came over and said, oh my God, I just saw this movie. And it was like nothing I've ever seen before. He's like, and he took us to go see it. I didn't know anything about it but the name when we walked into the
Did it
theater.
blow your mind?
Blew my mind. And when that first ship came over and the whole theater rumbled and it looked as real could be, you had you enthralled from beginning to end. But seeing it now, I mean, it's a good movie, but I remember asking an older friend, a guitarist friend of mine, about Jimi Hendrix, right? And I'm like, well, why does everybody think Jimi Hendrix is such a fantastic guitarist? And he's like, well, you weren't alive at the time, but then nobody was doing anything like that. It was such an original sound that if you were alive then, but nowadays it's not as an original sound anymore. It doesn't. Lots of people play better than Jimi Hendrix now, but in the mid '60s when he was coming out with that, it was just
We have to look at the context
right.
of the artist.
Right, and I think Star Wars might have that same problem.
Sure.
And I no wonder I went there, I didn't go see it, Star Wars, the movie, because it was for kids.
Well, the adults liked it too.
Raiders, I mean, the other, for example.
And you have two.
Now, see, that was a Steven Spielberg movie, but that was a George Lucas idea. So it was right around the time they were friends, and it was right around the time that he was making Star Wars. And he told Steven Spielberg, he said, "Oh, I have this idea of like those old action adventure TV shows." He's like, but so it was kind of the same thing. I mean, George Lucas was just making movies out of the TV shows he liked when he was a kid.
And how did that get to, what's that movie, E.T., with that?
Oh, that's another one.
I don't know where Spielberg came up with that. That didn't come from George Lucas. I don't know where it came from. But Spielberg's got a new Alien movie
really?
coming out in this summer.
Oh, next year.
Yeah, so it's about 6 months. I think it's June. It's coming out in June. No, they haven't announced it
I
yet.
haven't heard about that.
No, they've been keeping it real secret, which is why I'm kind of curious about it. Because when Steven Spielberg does like E.T. and Close Encounters and stuff like that, it tends to be pretty good.
What
So.
was his last movie? Not to get off track, but.
It was, he did, it was called The Fablemans. I haven't seen it yet, but it was kind of like an autobiography movie of him. And it won an Academy Award. It was supposed to be really good.
And the little boy, there's a son in there.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be him. It's kind of like a story about him and how he got into filmmaking. So it's like, and I don't know if it's 100% true. It's kind of like autobiographical-ish. Yeah. I heard great things about it, but I haven't seen it.
I've heard, okay. I'm sure it's on streaming somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure it is because it's not that new.
Sorry, how do you disconnect from cable and just do streaming?
Oh, that's another.
Come in and see me at Help Desk. We'll talk about your options. No, we help people in Help Desk do that a lot. I did it.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. It's a lot easier than it used to be now. But there's some options we got to look at.
Definitely pursue it.
Okay. So if you're not all typed in, that's okay. Because what I want to do is I want to show you a couple of things before we go. We got about 15 minutes. All right. So in Microsoft Word, we learned about formatting text. Okay. We can also format text in a spreadsheet. The first thing we needed to do when we wanted to format text in Microsoft Word is we needed to select the text that we wanted to format. And then we could go up to our toolbar and say, I want to format the text this way. It's the same in Excel. And there are going to be times where you're going to want things in your spreadsheet, the text to look different, or color the text, or shade in the cells, or something like that. What I like to do is I like to change the formatting of my column headers. So the column headers look different than the data. It's a personal preference thing. So what I'm going to have us do is we're going to change the formatting of our column headers. The first thing we need to do is we need to select all of the cells containing those column headers. And there's two ways to do it. Very much like Word. It's very similar to Word. Clicking and dragging to select the cell. So if you take your mouse and you click on the cell 1 index and you click and drag over to the right, see what it does? It selects all the cells like that. What I just did is I selected cell A1 all the way through cell F1, that whole line there. Now, if I wanted to select the whole table of data, you don't have to do this. I'm going to show you. You can click either on the bottom right corner or the top left corner and click and drag diagonal. See what it does? Is it'll allow you to select multiple rows and columns simply by clicking and dragging with your mouse. Now, if you drag too far, what's going to happen is it might remove the text that you were working on. And if that's the case, you're going to need to scroll all the way over to the left and maybe all the way back up to see where your text went. So be careful when you're clicking and dragging that you don't go out of the lines, because that might happen. But what we're going to do, I want to click and drag across all of these cells. Now that they are selected, now I can come up to my home toolbar up here and I can change the formatting of the text. I can make it bold. I can hit the letter U to make it underlined. And I can even hit the color, like the A with the letter red. I can even change the color of the text. Just like Microsoft Word, if you want to deselect what is selected to look at it, click anywhere off of it. And now you can see that I changed the formatting of my column headers to be blue, underlined, and bold. You can also, if you select them all, you can also change their alignment in the cells. And this little part of the toolbar will make it right justified or centered. Centered is kind of unique. It centers the column header in the cell instead of having it left or right justified. But all of that is just basically aesthetics, right? It doesn't change how it works. But now that we have a logical data table, I want to show you some common mistakes people make when they're creating their first data table. Okay? Sometimes if you have a lot of fields, right, and it goes out really far, sometimes what people will do is, well, they'll put information, they'll insert another row here, and they'll put information like Harrison Ford and God, I just looked this up last week, didn't I? What was it? Marion Ravenwood's, the actress, Karen Allen. Karen Allen. Okay. So what I did was, since I only had one spot for starring, I put Harrison Ford on one row and Karen Allen on the next row. This broke the table. This is wrong. Because remember, there's a rule. Everything in the column's got to be the same type of data, and everything in a row has to all belong to each other, just one row. As soon as you put data from one row to a second row, you're creating a second record. So what we did here is we didn't put Kristen Allen starring with Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark. We created a completely different record with Karen Allen and no running time and no movie. This is incorrect. So the right way to do this is either to put in another column starring 1 and starring 2, so you can have 2 people, or you can maybe even put it on the same line if you want to, or you can put like Harrison Ford and Karen Allen like that maybe. A second column would be better, but this is something you're going to have to deal with when you create a data table. The next problem is you can't have any blank rows. As soon as you have a blank row like that, the spreadsheet is going to think you have two separate tables. Why would you put a blank row? Because some people want more space between the records. But when you add another row, you're dividing the table into two separate tables. So that's bad. The right way to do this would be to increase the row height, much the same way as we increase. See how I just made the row higher? So you can make the rows higher if you wanted to increase without breaking the table. See, these are, now you have a lot more space, but you still don't have spaces between the rows. So you need to keep, you can select multiple rows. Also, when you're selecting like many things like this or a lot of stuff in a column, sometimes it can be easier just to click on the letter B and select the entire column. If you're formatting, this will format a bunch of blank cells. But what's nice about this is if I change this text to red, since I actually selected a bunch of cells that weren't filled in yet, if I come down here and I go fill in another movie, it's going to keep, since I formatted the entire column, if I add stuff, it'll keep that formatting all the way down. Okay. Shawshank Redemption is another movie that have you not seen that movie?
I've seen that. Really good.
That's a great movie. Okay, so there's another, what's going to happen to you, and I said this at the beginning, if you don't find a reason to use a spreadsheet, you're going to forget all this. But the nice thing is you kind of know what it's for now, and you kind of know how it works. So in a few months, if you go, you know what, I would really like to use a spreadsheet for that, just come on into the help desk and we can do it together, because it's really only going to really sink in when you use it on a regular basis. We'll do another table next week, and we'll learn how to put calculations and work with math and numbers. It's kind of fun. It's a flexible tool. But when you're working with a spreadsheet, there's going to come a time where you think that, hold up. I'll make this 150. You're going to think that you created your spreadsheet correctly by putting the column headers, and then when you're putting in data, there's going to be something awkward or weird about it. Don't feel bad about having to rethink how you put it together, because it is a logic thing. Okay, sometimes you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have to think, is this really the right way to do this? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's just awkward, and other times it's just wrong. And I'm going to show you a common mistake that people do with spreadsheets. Okay, so say that we were keeping track of movies that weren't just on DVDs. Say we had a really big movie collection at home, but some of them were on videotapes, some of them were on DVDs, and some of them were on other formats, right? Maybe some of them are VHS tapes. Maybe some of them are DVDs. Maybe some of them are Betamax. Remember a Betamax? Yeah. Okay. And then maybe some of them are a ViewMaster reel. So now look what we have. We put a column header for VHSs, DVDs, Betamax, and ViewMaster. So, okay, if the Blues Brothers is on VHS, I'll put an X here. And say Harrison Ford and Karen Ellis, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I have that on Betamax. And then Star Wars I have on DVD, but yeah, Gone with the Wind is Betamax. Okay, this is awkward. Look at the way this information is stored, right? It works, okay, because now I can look at this and I can tell you that, okay, well, the Blues Brothers is on VHS. I can look at Raiders of the Lost Ark here, and I can say, okay, well, that's on Betamax and start. But you know what else? Look at, I have a lot of blank spaces. And not only do I have a lot of blank spaces, but the data that I have in the fields that are filled in are all just X's. How would I sort by this? You know, it's awkward. The right way to do this is a common mistake. People will put column headers and put X's like this. When you see this, think this is a red flag. There's got to be a better way to do this. And the better way to do this is to create a column header called format. And then put in the format like this. Data and ViewMaster. Okay, see how much more elegant this looks, and see how it would be easier to sort this way. So anytime that you have column headers with sparse data or data in it that are just like X's or dots, that's a red flag. Another thing I see a lot is people will either color the cells, because you can color the text. You can make like the text red, but you can also color the cells in Excel. So if I wanted to make the cells yellow, see what I did is I made the cells yellow, but the text in the cells red.
How did you make the cells yellow?
Well, it's formatting. So basically, you just have to select the cells that you want to format, and right next to the font color is this little paint bucket. It's called fill color. And you can tell it what color you want the cells to be filled in as. And there's lots of other formatting you can do. You can format the cells to show you like boxes and stuff around the cells. You can make borders.
Right. See where it says good boards and the paintbrush, can you just take that in?
Yeah, that paintbrush is a format painter. It works the same way as Microsoft Word. So if you wanted to paint formatting from one place to another, you could do that. But the problem with, so what I see people do in spreadsheets, and I see it at work all the time, they'll have like, okay, we have a bunch of databases that are going to expire at the end of the month. So people will color them in red if they're going to expire. How do you can't sort by text color. So it's not a really good way to store data. Don't store data as a color of text or a color of a cell. Store data in a column, because you might have a big list of databases that are going to expire, and you need to sort them all by what's going to expire soonest, but there's no way to sort by red text. You can't do that. Okay? So you can use this text color and cell color to make things easier to read. And as a matter of fact, in our view toolbar, or maybe there is some. Yeah.
I mean, I'm putting, that's what that is.
But yeah, we're running out of time. So anyway, we're just a couple minutes over. So now that we have a data table with no spaces in between the rows and all of the data filled in, now I'm going to show you, if we go to the data table, the data tab up here, or actually is it under the home tab? Where's my sort? Oh, here, it's under the home tab. There's a sort button here. And when I just choose custom sort, look what it did. I chose custom sort. It automatically selected the data in the table. I didn't have to select this. I went up here to sort, and I chose sort. It automatically selected the data in the table. If you notice, it did not select the column headers, because Excel knows that that's not data. It's the description of the data below it. So now when I see it in this little box here, it says, well, how do you want to sort your table? I can choose sort by. When I click on this little arrow, it says, okay, do you want to sort by index, title, running time? See what it does? It automatically asks us, it doesn't say, do you want to sort by column B? It says, do you want to sort by title? It's smart enough to know that the very first thing on top of the column is the column header. It's the descriptor of the field. So if I say, you know what, sort this by year and hit OK, it's going to change the order of this, and it's sorting it by year. See, it brought 1939 up to the top, and then 77, then 80 and 81. And it changed the order of my data table from 4, 3, 1, and 2. See, I put these in 1, 2, 3, 4, but when I sorted the table by year, it did this. If I were to have put a blank row in here, when I go up here to sort, see what it did? It selected the first two, but not these two. It thinks the bottom two are a completely different table. That's why we don't keep blank rows in here. I'm going to delete this row, and I'm going to show you again. If I hit sort now, custom sort,
That's where I was.
yeah, it said, oh, do you want to expand the selection? Yeah, I had something selected. See, it automatically selected the data in my table. If you have a lot of data, like 300, 400 records, you can have multiple sort categories. So you can say sort first by genre and then by title. What that would do is that would sort all the comedies together, but within comedy, it would be sorted by title. Okay, and that would be like sort by genre, and then the second level, we're going to add a level, and then we're going to say, and then sort by title. Now, if I were to do this, it's not really going to show you much because we only have one genre. But if we had 50 comedies in here and we sorted first by genre and then by title, what it does is it sorts everything alphabetically by genre, action, comedy. And then if we had 50 comedies, it would then, within comedy, sort everything alphabetical by movie title. Okay? All right, that's a lot. So we're going to leave that here unless you have any questions. Next week, we're going to make a new data table. So you're going to get a little bit more practice on columns and rows and column headers. But then after we create the table, then we're going to start inserting math and calculations into the cell and start automating some calculations. That's when it really gets interesting. Okay, so, all right. That's all I got for today. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. And I will see you next Friday.
19.
7, 8, yeah, the 19th. And then the weekend after that, we're done. Next week is our last class, yeah.
Next Friday's our last one. And what other class has behind that?
In late January, I'm doing a media literacy class called Media Literacy and Misinformation. And then I'm going to use that class to start a 4-week mindfulness class. And that's going to be talking about how our modern technology is affecting our concentration and the information that we consume. And it is a lot, yeah, it is a lot. And I think it's pretty important that we start to realize we were built for finding berries in the woods. We were not built for just picking up the phone and having them bring a pizza to the door. And also, you know, when we were young, we saw the news in the paper in the morning and maybe at 5, 7, or 10. Now it's constant news all the time. We're not built for this. So we need to be mindful of how our mind works, is what these classes are for. And we do it through mindful meditation, which is just a concentration exercise. All it is a simple concentration exercise that will give you a little space between something happening and a reaction. And we do it in 4 weeks. It's simple, it's easy. And hopefully it'll make things better.
Are you gonna call us for information on right time and date?
Yeah,
I apply already.
yes. Everybody in these classes, I'm going to have Yvonne call everybody to see if you want to be part of it. But that'll be later in January.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Classes like this for children in the middle school.
The computer classes are all ages, these.
And I'm thinking of social.
My granddaughter.
That you were speaking of. They were not in school. I guess I was thinking of in
I don't know.
particular, what you just spoke of.
Okay, so I'm doing a separate one for kids in 2026. And what we're doing is a lot of libraries celebrate Star Wars Day, May the 4th. It's like a joke, like May the 4th be with you. And the kids dress up in Star Wars characters, and it's part of Disney now. So, and there's new stuff coming out all the time. So we're having a Star Wars Day in May, and myself and my friend Mike, who for a long time he was a therapist with kids. He's retired now in Chicago. He's going to come down. We're going to dress like Star Wars characters, and we're going to talk to the kids about mindfulness, but it's got to be a little different. The way we talk to children about mindfulness is different than us, so we're separating it out, and we're gonna make it like Star Wars Jedi training.
Catch their attention.
We're hoping, because it's important for the kids too.
Yeah, but to me, more.
Right, and the kids are figuring it out. The kids came up with the word doom scrolling. Because they know, they realize, why am I scrolling and I don't even like this that much? They realize that there's something wrong. Yeah, and there's something wrong, and we have to try and fix it. And technology and media is just going to get,
More and more.
yeah, it is. And our brains are built for distraction. And media companies are taking advantage of it, and it's not helping, so.
You saw that a long time ago, social dilemma one?
Oh, The Social Network?
Yeah. Social
The movie?
Dilemma was a movie,
Yeah.
By Larry Text and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was about Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay, yeah, no, anyway, I thought that was good. Now, how young people go off if you take their social media.
They do. Australia just outlawed social media last week for kids under 14 or 15 or something like that.
What's gonna happen? They haven't come to that, they haven't figured it out.
Well, right. So,
Have a good evening.
you too. Thank you for coming. They're also talking about putting warning labels on social media for kids now because,
Fine, J.O.
thank you, Bronca. Have a nice weekend. Yeah.
I have grandkids that are in their teenage and their parents, my daughters are kind of like limiting to how much time they have on social media.
Yeah.
And on their computers or laptops and stuff. They think like, no, you're going to be a kid like I was. You're going to get outside and play outside and interact with, be sociable and stuff like that. Because if not, they would, my youngest one kind of is just straight sports, football, all day on the game. He doesn't want to move. And she's like, you're going to get outside.
Yeah.
You got to learn about life outside. 'Cause that's what I told her. I said, they're so into the homes that they don't even get outside and socialize.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to be outside in that world,
Right.
because we cover them in the home. One, for the fact that you're afraid of them being out there and what they're gonna learn from somebody else or what they're gonna, but they kind of need to know that, to know how to defend themselves,
Yeah.
to know how to interact and know when to leave and when, when not to. So I said, that's what I told her, you just gotta constantly speak to them about how the world is. You can't really, cover them and all.
Right.
You gotta actually kind of.
Yeah, so media literacy and the mindfulness classes, they're certified by the state library for continuing education. So I also promote these to librarians.
Mhm.
But these are for adults. We're doing the kid thing in May, and then hopefully, if the adults learn it, they'll know how to deal with the kids a little bit better too. We talk about all that in the
Are you connected with Hannah or any of those?
library.
Yeah, the computer.
No, I have colleagues over there that we meet regularly. The IT, we meet on a regular basis. The computer people from all the area libraries.
Ladies, you have a great weekend.
All right, thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, okay, because I didn't ask that question, but I wondered, did Mike so too?
No, it's a different library system. So
I'll be on my tablet, I'll have my TV on, and I'm back and forth. Unbelievable.
I know you were watching a TV show and you have an urge to grab your phone and get two streams at the same time. It's like it's designed.
I do that.
It is designed to capture your attention, and it's winning. And mindfulness is going to give us the ability to notice that.
So that's the thing with things like Duolingo. It's the same thing that captures you, or whatever you want to call it, the brain power.
Yeah.
Shoot.
learning the language.
Dragon game, yeah, that's the language. Dragon game or whatever. I haven't even got into it. It's like, they just want to keep me interested. And I like what it can do, but I realize that I think they're trying to get me.
Yeah, good. Realizing it's the first step. That's great. All right. Thank you. Good to see you. Have a nice weekend. It's okay. I got you. All right. See you next week. All right. Bye-bye.